everyone, and welcome back to Tinderloss Gaming, and welcome to episode 1 of my playthrough of Lobotomy, the board game. Now, very quick overview of Lobotomy. It's a game set in a mental asylum where the inmates are, well, you don't know whether this is true or not, but they're sort of imagining that the place is overrun by demonic entities such as nurses, mental patients, slashers, etc. And is run by an evil sort of guardian type thing. So the whole precept or concept of the game is about sanity, insanity, and we play as the inmates in the game. Now, there is a very good playthrough from Catweazles, and I'll put the link in the description to this, where he goes into a great deal of detail about the game and its setup. This is not a tutorial, as with all of my playthroughs. It's just a playthrough for fun. I will explain stuff as I'm going, but it's not meant as an in-depth playthrough. This is version 1 of the game. They did do a Kickstarter a little while ago for version 2. I didn't go in on that, but this is version 1 of the game. So, without further ado, let's get across to the board and see what it's all about. Okay, so here we are at the board. It's one of these games that does take up a little bit of space, so hopefully you've got a big kitchen table to play it, but we're all set up. Now, I was planning on playing this just prior to the Christmas break, but real life, etc., just didn't allow me to get the time to commit to play these games, because they do take a lot of A, setting up, and B, time to play them. So now I'm on a bit of annual leave, so I've got this on the table. It's been on the table since before Christmas, so now is the time to play it. And the reason why I say that is because I'm playing the scenario the 13th day of Christmas. So apologies for some of you to prolong the seasonal event, but we are going to be playing the 13th day of Christmas. Seems like quite a nice sort of not too complicated scenario, which for my brain at my age usually helps. So we're going to go across to the characters in a second and take you through who we're going to be playing as, but just as a general bit of the board. So the board, you get a load of random, or not a load of random, you get a load of double-sided quadrants that you can use to muck around and play with, depending on the scenario. It always comes with a central board marked A, B, C and D. And then you just work through. Some scenarios you'll just use random tiles. This one's got a particular scenario. It's got a chapel in it, which is the top right hand corner. It's set out in rooms, and in rooms there are certain things. Our object in this scenario is to get these incenses, this one here, and this one up the top here, to the chapel to sort of put out these incense burners. So that's the plan. So these three we've got to take, and they'll knock out one of these once we get there. On the board there are certain things that we come across. One is doors. Some doors are locked, and underneath the token is a particular number or not, and that's on the difficulty of how you get through it. So we'll come to that when we get to a door. But there are doors. There are these cabinets down here, and they're put all across the board. And in those cabinets can be things like medications, weapons, equipment, sometimes nothing. But again, once we get to that, we can see, basically we can turn it over and you can see what's there. There are bodies as well, which we can search to get different items. And that's pretty much it for sort of like what the actual aim and objective of this scenario is. So we've got to pick these 3 incenses up, costs an action point to pick them up, take them back here, and then we can snuff out these incentives. The actual 13th day of Christmas objective card, I'll bring it up. It says objective, bring the incense to the haunted spaces and exercise all 3 of them. With this game as well, what it does is you can sort of link scenarios together. I'm just going to be playing the one scenario for this channel. But in the actual, if you're playing it properly or with some mates, you can then link scenarios. There is a countdown to this, which is this guy here, When we draw cards, there's these movement cards here. When we get to activate monsters, he may well move one space across. So once he gets to 12, that's when you have the final showdown. And we'll do that because that's part of the game. It's supposed to be quite brutal and not very winnable, but again, we'll play the game as written. So he'll be ticking along round this area here. Once he gets to 12, we then go to the final sort of countdown. You can see there's a load of cards that are along the side here. This is the movement deck where we're going to be drawing to see what monsters are going to be spawning, and you know, what things we're going to be coming across. Then we've got equipment, weapons and medications. They're going to be hopefully within these containers and cabinets and stuff. Memory decks up the top there are for the individual characters. When you pick up, or when you get to one of these memory tokens, you can draw a memory from the deck, and that's individual. Well, there's some set ones and there's some individual ones for the characters, but again, I'll explain that when we get there. And across the side there, we've got various mental conditions that may well have affected our characters, and they draw at the start, before the start of the game. They can have various abilities from those mental conditions. Okay, I think that's probably it for a basic setup. Now, just in regards to how a game turn is broken down, I've got the rule book in front of me. There is a downloadable rule book on BGG, I think, but I've got the normal rule book. So it's basically broken down into two separate turns. I'll just flip to the right page, and I'll read this bit. So a game round consists of two turns. One is a player's turn, where they can make their actions one after another, and it, again, doesn't matter what order you go in. There's no first player here. You can as a player decide who you want to go first. And when you activate a player, you can move. And I'll talk about movement when I talk about the characters cards in a second. You can search a locker or a body on the space. You can reveal a door token or try to attempt to open a locked door. You can pick up a memory token. You can attack. You can use a skill in your inventory item. You can trade items. And you can interact with a scenario-based objective. You can run as an action. That means you get 2 additional action points for movement, but they have to be spent on movement, and that's it. So that's pretty much it for a player's turn. A monster's turn, as I said, we're going to draw one of these cards here. And then I'll show you. So basically, just managed to muck up that. So you've got that one there. There's no event. We would then place a memory token, and you randomise that, and you would move the warden. Actually, is the name of the monster. And then you would spawn, because we're only playing as 3 players. You forget the third one. I would spawn a mental patient. And a scavenger. So that's pretty much how that deck works. I'll put that to the bottom actually. There we go. That was a good one to draw actually. Yeah. So let's go through our players. I've got them all off to one side, so I'm going to just get them in front of me. I've got them uploaded as digital assets, so just bear with me 1 second. Okay, so I've got the character cards. We're going to go through those in a sec. So down in the bottom there, you can see the first guy is Marcus Dieter, and he's the guy with the red base on the board. And he says, it says Dr. Marcus Dieter specialised in transplantology. He was always considered psychotic and paranoid amongst his peers, so nobody was surprised when he finally got institutionalised. The real shock came when the contents of his private lab were revealed. So he's a little bit of a... he's had some issues in the past. So his mental disorders that I've chosen from are schizophrenia and anxiety neurosis. And let's just get to... His starting equipment is Lobotomy spike, and we'll talk about that in a second. So down in the corner, you've got a sort of raft of numbers and symbols, and we'll go from left to right. It's got sort of like a light bulb, which is 8, and that's imagination. And imagination is tested when a character tries to bend reality. High imagine tests make it easier, so we'll do that. The shield obviously is a defense, and I can talk about defense when we get to combat. But that indicates the amount of damage that a character absorbs from each attack without losing health. So basically, if he had a defense of 1 and he took 3 damage, he'd only take 2. Then we've got his attack rating with the crossed swords. He's got an attack rating of 5, and that's the minimum result on a D6. He needs to get a success, so he needs to roll 5s or more. The little blood drop, he's got an 8, which means he's got 8 health, effectively, 8 wounds he can take before he passes out. And then the arrow 3 is the amount of movement that he can take. So he's got 3. He can move 3. The arrow AP indicates how many actions a character can perform each turn. Sorry, my apologies. So he gets 3 action points, not movement points, my apologies, 3 action points. He's got a special ability called God Syndrome, and he can lose 1 health to recover 2 health to a character on the same space. So he can do a little bit of healing. Now he comes with some abilities that you can choose. I've chosen personnel only. And you can see on this card, it's to the right hand side, it's got 7 down to 1. When you activate an ability, you put a cooldown on it. So this would start at 5. 6 and 7 come into play when it comes to him losing sanity. So he would then it drops down every round, or there are certain things that allow it to drop down a bit faster. But once you've used it, you've got to then exhaust that cooldown before you can use it again. This costs 1 action point, and he can move 3 spaces in any direction, ignoring monsters, and he gets +2 defense for that round. So that's pretty good. Then he's got another card, and that one's called Ghostbuster. That's an attack. He rolls 8 dice, ghostly. So this is an attack. If he's attacking a ghostly enemy, it reduces its defense to, if the enemy is non-ethereal, so not ghostly, if the enemy is non-ethereal, reduce its defense to 0. That's pretty good. He's rolling 8 dice and he would need 5s. Each 6 adds an extra attack die, and that can also attack handles. So it's got basically an exploding 6 on it, which is pretty good. Then I've given him Flashbang. Again, got a cooldown on it. It doesn't cost anything. All monsters on your space get -1 to attack rolls for this round. So that's pretty good. Sort of confusing them a little bit. And then finally, he comes with a weapon, which is Lobotomy Strike, and that rolls 4 dice. And if you roll at least 1 6, add a dice, even if you used the Chaos dice to add another one. Chaos dice is something that you can use to try and get additional hits, but it does cost you sanity to do that. And you can see there's a little 4 in the bottom there. Basically, this is durability. Every time you roll a 1, you're going to lose durability, but it's only to a maximum of 1. So if I rolled an attack and I rolled 3 1s in it, I don't reduce the durability by 3, I just reduce it by 1. So any 1 takes the durability down. I hope that makes sense. So that's Marcus. Let's just turn that off, and then we'll get to the next one, and we're going to be using Ellen Ridley. You can see where some of these characters have come from. Ellen Ridley, it says, Ellen Ridley's case became a nuisance after she claimed multiple alien abductions. However, mutilations proved to be self-induced and no trace of implants was ever found. Currently treated for Capgras delusion and psychosis, and her mental disorders are aggression, phobia, and anxiety neurosis. Basically, they're the decks you can choose from when you're building your character. She starts with a crowbar, and she's got an imagination of 7. She's got a defense of 1. She needs 5s to hit. She's got 7 health, and she gets 4 action points. She's also got a special ability called Monster's Mother. Choose a type of basic monster at the beginning of the game. You can leave spaces with monsters of that type on them and gain extra dice against them. When you die, place 1 such monster on the space you died. 2 if you choose a mental patient. Well, I will choose a mental patient because that's probably the most common enemy that we're going to be coming across. They're sort of like, you know, your standard enemies. So I'm going to choose mental patients. Oh, I forgot to go through with Marcus. The brain symbol, which has got a number of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the case of Ellen. Basically, when you start to lose insanity, you put a marker on here, and as you go up the track, it becomes harder for you to do things once you get to 5 and 6. But again, we'll cover that off in the game once we actually get to it. And her special cards, she comes with, or I've chosen, Escape Velocity, cooldown of 5, cost of 1 AP. She can move 2 spaces in any direction, ignore monsters, and again she gains +2 defense for this round. You can see the sort of theme I'm going for with this lot. Then she's got Flame On, which is an attack. It's 7 dice, it's a ranged space of 2, and it's a flaming attack. And again, flaming attack, let's just get to the bit where it tells us what those do. Reduces the enemy's defense by 1. So a flaming attack reduces it by 1. And she gets gain +1 to attack rolls if you target a space with 2 or more enemies in it, which is good. Or it's a 4. And again, let's just look at that symbol, the sort of loads of arrows symbols. Sorry guys, that's an AoE attack. I thought it was, but I just wanted to check. And that's 4 dice, again a space of up to a range of up to 2, flaming attack, and for each enemy gain +1 or 2 attack rolls if you target a space with 2 or more enemies. That's pretty decent. So that's Flame On. She's got Psycho Gambler, which again has got a cooldown. It's an attack, roll 2d6. The result is the number of dice that you use for this attack, and if the result is 6 or lower, it gets precision. And again, precision means it basically ignores enemy's defense, or ignores the first 1 of enemy's defense. I think that's how that works. Yeah, results of a 6 and attack roll ignore enemy's defense, so that's pretty decent. So that's Psycho Gambler, and then we've got, she comes with a standard crowbar, 5 dice, 6 durability, cost 2 durability and 1 action. I can remove a door token, so basically she can just jimmy open a door, which is pretty good when it comes to those higher value doors that are difficult to get into. So that is Ellen. Let's just turn her all off. And then finally, I had to play with this character because it just looks, she looks so cool. We're playing with Grandma Bates. And Grandma Bates says she was signed into the hospital by her lovely granddaughter. She has middle stage Alzheimer's, but she often talks to someone when there's nobody in the room. Staff have tried to contact her granddaughter for help, but they found out she's been dead for several years. This game is, on all of my videos, Marcus, not suitable for children. Because of the nature of the stuff I play, I tend to play horror-based games. If mental illness is something that you're not particularly keen on, then I completely understand if you want to stop watching the video at this point, because although these are fun games, it does reference real life conditions, so that can be a little bit difficult for people. But I'm playing it obviously in the spirit it was intended, which is just as a bit of fun. Her mental disorders are schizophrenia and phobia. She starts with a random weapon, which I randomised before we started filming. She's got an imagination of 7. She's got no defense. She's got an attack of 5 or rolls 5s or more. She's got 6 health and she only gets 2 action points. However, she's in a wheelchair, and with the wheelchair as a special ability, each turn gain 3 extra action points usable for movement only. You cannot declare running. So she's always going to be able to move 3, which is all pretty good, and these are a couple of action points to play with. So that's, and the model actually is pretty decent. Now, I've given her Grandma's Pudding, where she can recover D3 wounds, and until the end of the round, when you're on a space with another character or a character enters your space, they can recover D3. So again, you tick that up and then move somebody into her space and they can recover health as well, which I thought was pretty cool. Then she's got Drive Through, which is a 1 AP cost with a cooldown. Move 1 space in any direction and attack a monster on the space you arrive with 8 dice. And then it's got the fist symbol again. Sorry, just move to the page. Power. If at least 1 damage is dealt, the enemy is stunned. You knock this miniature down. She's going to basically run them over with her wheelchair. And critical means results of a 6. It deal 2 points of damage, but can be negated by 1 defense. So she's pretty decent when she's doing Drive Through. Then she's also a Positive Thinker, cost of 1 AP, only a 3 cooldown, recover 2 health to a character within range 5, which I thought she's pretty good. And also, I randomised, but I think this is quite apt for her. She's got a Meat Cleaver. Nice standard weapon, 6 dice. You can modify the result of 1 dice by 1 against scavengers, which doesn't like scavengers, and it's got a durability of 5. So there we go. That is Grandma Bates. Okay. Now the models, the monsters that we're going to be coming up against. Let's put that back down there. Let's go through the monsters. Mental Patient is pretty straightforward. That's one of our standard monsters. It does a 5 attack. It can move 1. It's got 4 health. It hits on 5s and it's got 1 defense. That's a Mental Patient. A Nurse. She's hitting on 6s. 1 action point, 5 wounds, 4s to attack with 1 defense. So the Nurse is pretty meaty. Then we've got a Scavenger, which has got 2 movement, hits for 5 with precision. That means it ignores defense, I believe. 3 health, 5s to hit, no defense. And this scenario we're going to play with, they're slightly specials. A Slasher, 2 action points, 6 health, 4s to hit, 2 defense. And then he's got a couple of attacks there, 7s with critical strike and 7s with flame as well. You roll a 1d3, a d6 to see what sort of attack they get. So those are the monsters we're going to be coming up against. Right, okay, before we move on to the actual gameplay, when I was watching Catweazles' playthrough of Lobotomy, it was quite a while ago now, he posted up, but it's a really decent playthrough, and I'd recommend, if you like this type of game and you like this particular playthrough, then go and have a look at it. He uses a couple of house rules, which I'm going to nick as well, because the game is very difficult. You don't win this game very often. One rule is when the monsters move, the way the rules are written, they can basically just go through locked doors with no impediment, nothing. The way he's done it is if a monster goes through a locked door, then they go through it, but if they've got any action points remaining, they lose them. So basically it takes them all of their effort, all of their ethereal abilities to try and get through the door. And I am going to use that rule within this as a house rule. I think it doesn't really overly affect the game. It just gives the player a little bit more of a chance. And I don't think it's game breaking either. The second rule, which I'm going to house rule, which I'm going to nick off in, is that with the Warden, because the tracker can move very, very quickly, and you can get to towards the end of the scenario again quite quickly. If a character forfeits all of its action points, you can move the warden back one space. So the characters are not going to be able to do anything, and they basically stay where they are. They effectively lose a turn. You're swapping one turn to move the warden back once, and each character can only do that once per game. So we've got the opportunity, if we can or should or do, we've got the opportunity to potentially move him back up to 3 spaces. But that does come at a cost. The player will lose their entire turn for doing that. And again, I think that's a nice simple house rule. Gives the players a little bit, gives me a slightly better chance of completing the objective before the end of the sort of 12. Now the warden doesn't move every single turn. He could do, the way that the cards are laid out. But the warden is only moved when his symbol comes up on the movement card. So not every movement card has his symbol on it. So it's not straight 12 turns. It could be slightly more than that. But again, I felt that was a couple of decent house rules that just give the players not a brilliant advantage, but it just makes it a little bit easier. Anywho, that's enough, I think, of me banging on about the scenario. Let's get into it. Let's play it. Let's see what it looks like. Let's see how it feels, and let's crack on. I'll just take a very quick break just to put the cards all back to, because I've had to move the cards away from where they originally were. I've got a card cam where we can sort of keep a track of the characters, and then we'll get those set up and we'll come back and we'll start the first turn. All right. Okay, here we go. Final bit of prep. I just wanted to do this bit on camera just to make sure everybody thinks I'm playing this straight. So I've put some monsters on the board, one mental patient and one scavenger for each quadrant, and now you need to randomise to see where those monsters actually end up. So let's get across to the dice cam, roll a d20 and a d4 to see what we get. So we'll start off with quadrant A with the mental patient, and that's going quadrant don't need to do the quadrant. It's going to go space 8, and that was the mental patient. Space 8 is there, and then the next one, the scavenger, is going to go space 4, which is there. And we're going to go across to B for the mental patient, and that's space 10. Oh, that's in a locked door. Then we'll come across to the scavenger, and that's going to go to 7, which is there with a memory shine. Come down to C, and we're going to get 5 for mental patient, and 10 for the scavenger, and then final quadrant D, 10 again for the mental patient, and 6 for the scavenger, which is, oh lovely, which is in here. Okay, all right, let's crack on. Let's make, this is turn 1. So basically what I'm thinking here is I'm going to keep these two together, and then Grandma's going to go off on her own. So Grandma's going to go first, and she's going to use her free 3 movement, 3 action points. So she's going to go 1, 2, 3, and then she's going to use her final 2 movements to go 1, 2. She doesn't need to use anything, she's just going to go there like that. Now, who do we start with? Ellen's got 4 action points, Marcus has got 3. Marcus, I think, he's going to go 1 out, 2, 3 down to here, because he's going to come in here and then go up there, I think. We're going to keep Ellen in the same space, but first of all she's going to go 1 into here, and then she's going to use another action point to search the body, and she gets a weapon. So we're going to go to the weapons deck, give it a shuffle. Managed to drop one. And she is going to draw a wooden cross. 4 with 7 ability, and obviously probably a holy type of thing there. So Ellen gets that. It counts as 1 normal space in her inventory. There is an inventory limit. So that was her second action. She's got 2 action points left. And so she's going to go 1, 2 to there. That body goes. That to one side. That's it for the players. That's it for the player's turn. Fairly straightforward. And then we're going to go on to, well, I've made these nice little things. We're going to go on to the monster's turn. Should have had player's turn up there. And we'll shuffle these movement cards. I'll only shuffle them once. I'm not going to shuffle them each time. We'll do a Catweazle cut, and the movement card we're going to get is He Demands Blood. The warden moves 1 space forward on the insomnia track unless players sacrifice 3 plus number of characters blood in total. We're not going to do that. Oh god. So he's going to move. Now, in this scenario, I forgot to say, there's red, blue and green stars, and they denote special events. So bear with me a second. Is on a green, which is what we've got this turn. It says Surge Green. 1, 2, he's coming for you. Randomise a slasher on the board. He will move during this monster turn. There can be a maximum of 4 slashers on the board at the same time. After exercising 2 haunted spaces, don't spawn an additional slasher if there are 3 or more on the board. Delightful. So slashers coming on straight away. So to randomise it, again we use the dice. And he's going to come on space 4, which is D, and he's going to go to D6. Lovely. D6 for the slasher. Oh god. Right down there in the corner with the objective. Delightful. And then we're going to spawn a slasher and a mental patient. So we're going to spawn the slasher first. And he's going to come on. Slasher's coming on at 4. Oh god, can't give me glasses. 410. Okay, so the scavengers come on down here, actually here on D10. So we've done all of the movement cards, so that can go off to the side. And now basically what we do is monster movement. Now if a monster can see a character, it's going to move directly towards it. If not, it's going to move the shortest route towards the nearest one they can't see, if that makes sense. So let's start off with A. He's going to come out. He's a mental patient, so he's going to use all of his movement. He's 1 AP to move that. Oops, sorry. Oh, sorry. And the warden moves as well. Again, because we've got the warden symbol, so he's going to move into number 3. He's going to come out there. This one is going to come the shortest distance around, so I'd say that's there. He's the scavenger, so he moves 2. He's going to move 2 actually, because he didn't have to come through a door, so he's going to move to there. Then we've got a mental patient going to move to there. This scavenger here is the rule I was talking about. He's going to come through the door, but it's locked, so he would normally move 2, but he's going to move 1 out to there. And then these ones are going to move 1, 1, and then 2 to move through there. The slasher is going to use all of his movement to move out. Which way is the quickest? This way would be the quickest, and then the same with that scavenger there. He's going to move out to there. So that is it for turn 1. So we go back to the player's turn now. We'll work out what we need to do. So let's try a bit of combat. Let's start off, and it's player's turn, and we will start off with Grandma Bates. She wants to take that memory slot, so her first action is going to be to try and see about opening the door. So it's an action point to reveal door token or attempt to open a locked door. So she's got 2 action points. So her first action is going to be to reveal this door, and it's going to be, oh my god, it's 5, a locked 5. Ouch. Locked doors have a symbol of a lock and a value. When you use one action to reveal a door to open as a lock symbol, you gain a free attempt at opening them. The test is described as below. If you fail to open a locked door, the door stays on, the token stays on the board. You and another character that comes into a space with the revealed locked door can pay 1 action to attempt to open again. So, unlocking test. Check your character's imagination statistic, and she's 7. And she needs 4, 5 or 6. It's equal to or higher. So she gets 7 dice. 2, 4, 6, 7. She's going to need a really decent roll. Now, has she got anything that she can use? No. It's going to be a straight roll. So let's get to the dice cam. 4s, 5s and 6s. Doesn't look particularly good. Mind you, she got 4. She got 4. So it says if a character fails to open the door, they can repeat the test on the same turn for another action point, but the test becomes harder. Add 1 to the value of the lock symbol for every previous attempt. The extra difficulty lasts only until the end of the character's turn. So it says, as an example, a character reveals a door token for 1 action point, which I did. They turn out to be locked with a difficulty of 5. The character can now automatically attempt to open them for 3. He has 7 imaginations, so he rolls 7d6 and gets 3 successes, which is not enough to open them. He has 1 more action left, so he spends it to attempt to open them again. Because this is his second try, It's risen up by 1. It's now 6. So it seems to me like you have to roll. They don't stay around. So it has to, it's not a cumulative thing. So you have to roll 5 successes in one hit to try and open the door. Wow. Okay. So that was her first action. Well, let's try something. I'm going to use her free movement to go 1, 2, 3 to there. And she had 1 floating action left, so she'll reveal this one, see what this is. See if it's an easier way in. And she gets a 3. A 3 locked. Okay, this is a bit more doable. And because it's a locked door, she gets a free attempt to do it. So she's rolling her 7 dice again. 2, 4, 6, 7. She needs 3 successes this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes that time. So that unlocks that door. That token goes. She hasn't got any more actions left. That is it for Grandma. She could be in a bit of trouble there. But anywho. So that's Grandma done. So let's just remove her from there. And then who are we going to use next? Let's try Marcus next. We'll try Marcus. He's got his 3 action points. So 1 down to here, and then 2 to reveal this door. Oh God, that's locked 5 as well. So that's locked 5. He has an imagination of 8. Needing 5 successes. Come on, Marcus. Grandma's shown you how it's done. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. 3 successes. Has he got anything that he could use? Okay. So that was his. What else is he going to do? What else is he going to do? He's only used 1 action. 2. He's used 2. He's got 1 action left. No, he's not going to do anything else. He's going to stay there, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to Ellen. Let's move on to Ellen. She gets 4, so she's going to go 1, 2 down to where Marcus is, and then she is going to use her crowbar, which unfortunately is going to take 2 durability off it. We're going to put 2 durability onto Ellen's crowbar. I can just show you that. Oops, let's just get rid of that card, sorry. Let's get rid of that card for a second so you can see. Oops, there we go. Right, so what I've done is I've put 2 durability of 6 on the crowbar and 1 action. So she'd move for 2 and an action is 3, and she's going to basically remove a door token. She's going to say, get out of the way, Marcus, let me deal with this. So she's going to remove that door token. So she's moved for 2. 3 was to open the 3 was to open it. 4, she's going to move into that space there. Marcus. Ellen's going to move into that space down there like that. Oops, daisy. And all sorts of things on the. Don't need that one there, don't you? So she's basically moved down to here now. Just put it there so you can see her. Marcus is here. And that's it for their turn. Not too bad. Not too bad. So let's take Helen off. And we will now go to the monster's turn. We draw our card. No event this time, but there is a red symbol on here. So let's look at that first of all. Turn the dice cam off, don't need that now. So a red event, it says 5/6, grab a crucifix. Until the end of this turn, all slashers gain ethereal movement, ghostly attacks, and +1 AP. Need to remember that. Now the brain symbol means that we place a memory somewhere on the board. That's random. So this memory token is going to be placed random. So we'll bring our dice cam up. See where we put it, and it's going to go on A8. A8, which is there. We're also going to move the warden again, so he goes to number 4. And then we're going to spawn a mental patient and a slasher. It's only if you're playing 4 or more that you bring this third one into play. So we're going to do a mental patient and a slasher. So mental patient, slasher. So we'll start off with the mental patient. And he's going to go to D6. This is getting a bit D6. They love that down there. They love that down there. And then the scavenger is going to go to 4/9. Bloody hell. 4/9. And then we do movement. So the mental patient up here will start off in A. He's going to go 1 to there. This mental patient is going to use all of his movement to go there. Ethereal, that means I take it they can move through walls and stuff like that. So this one's going to go 1, 2. This mental patient is going to go 1 to there. This scavenger is going to go 1, 2 to there. This scavenger is going to go 1, 2 to there. Mental patient's going to go 1. This scavenger is going to move all of his. He's going to go there. That makes more sense. Go through the wall. Slasher is going to go 1, 2 to there. He's going to go 1, 2 to there. And the mental patient's going to go 1 to there. And I think that's it. I think that's it. Okay, that's the end of turn 2, and I think at that point, with a cheeky little introduction and a couple of turns, we will call it for episode 1 of my playthrough of Lobotomy. You can see this is going to ramp up quite quickly. Grandma's looking in a bit of a dodgy position there, but she's got some means about her. She might be able to do some stuff next turn. And we'll see if Ellen and Marcus can start clearing these ones out down here. But we'll see how it goes. I hope you're enjoying it. Let me know in the comments. As ever, if you're liking what I'm doing, playing for fun, then please like and subscribe. Please comment. Really good to have your comments on how I play through these games. I do tend to record all in one hit, so I can't necessarily react to particular game mechanics when in the comments. However, it does remind me and does set me up for the future. For example, I had one gentleman comment about having character cards on view, so that's why I've put this character camera in place so that you can see clearly the character cards, or as clear as I can get it. With these sorts of games, there's a big footprint, so it's very difficult to sort of zoom in, and anyway, I've caught it the best I could, but that was from a comment in one of the playthroughs I've done on previous games. So I do take on board your comments, and they're really helpful. However, because we're coming up to the hour, let's call it there, and I will see you on the next video. Ta-ta for now.